Double TLS stands for transversal tendinous ligamentous stretching. There's a couple ways we use that in this program. We can use it on a ligament or a tendon. When using it on a ligament, the goal is basically to sedate the nervous system, to decrease the proprioception of the ligament so that the link between the brain and the ligament is inhibited a little bit. And that'll make you do that prior to adjustment, so the adjustment's a little more precise, less traumatic. You could also use double TLS to a ligament after a sprain of a ligament, where you want to stimulate the hormonal process so that the body can send neutrophils, macrophages, and help heal the ligament. The third way we use double TLS is on tendons, and this is actually a great example to demonstrate it with a groin injury, because I'm going to demonstrate on the adductors. And what you have is you have 8 different adductors. Anytime you have a lot of different tendons in a lot of different directions, or overlapping, or on top of each other in the same direction, you get a crossing, you tend to get a lot of adherence, a lot of inflammation of the tendons, and the muscle's not going to function properly. Now, because you have 8 of them, they all serve a different function. They all do the same adduction mainly, but they also serve with a little bit of different rotation component. And that's important in terms of how your pelvis is going to function, how your hip's going to function. So that's basically the 3 ways. So we use it, the 2 ways was the ligaments. The third way is we try to separate the tendons so that they can move more freely, so that they can function more optimally. So here we're going to start with the actinius, which once you know the anatomy, this will all make sense, but it's beyond the scope of the video. But basically the action, very similar. You're going to ask her to push towards your head. It's a little more uncomfortable than the pumping. Yes.
Let's pull that way. Okay.
And then you release. Push. I'm not going to give away the technique on the video, but basically it's a little uncomfortable, but it serves an amazing result when you start to do it. You can completely get all the separation of all the tendons. Push and release. You can work on the longest. Again, they're all in the same area, so changing the degree of rotation, changing the degree of flexion, based on the anatomy and the biomechanics, will change each tendon, and you can feel it right under your fingers. Push and release. Push, release. Push. We can work on the brevis. Push, release. The superior part and the inferior part, you okay?
Mm-hmm.
And release tender.
Mm-hmm.
Push and release. We can work on the magnus, which has 3 different parts to it. We can work on different areas of it. Work on the superior part. Push up and release. You okay? I'm comfortable doing it. And release. You can work all the way through the muscle belly to separate the tendon, the muscle from each other. Push. Release. Push. Release. Now, because you can start thinking now in terms of fascia relationship anatomy, the fascial anatomy, the complexity, the adductors don't only influence the hip joint, but they also influence the SI joint, because it goes onto the pubis, which is part of the ilium. And when you start to think in that 3D image, everything, you get a much better result at the end. And again, it all comes together at the end of the 3 years. Push. But with each course and each class, you come out, because of the way it's taught, because of the complexity model of teaching and learning, I could say each time I came out of there, as long as I practiced the techniques when I came home, I come out with 80% of each class, versus other classes I've taken in the past, which you try to memorize it, but you can't. So you come out with 20%. And I'd say that was worth every dollar I spent in the program. Push and release. We can work on the inferior. Push, release. And again, you can work all the way up the muscle belly. And that's double TLS.